to it. Why does the idea of success create mixed feelings or mixed reactions among believers? Why does the idea of success create mixed reactions among believers within the body of Christ? When we hear words again like success, like achievements, like wealth, like influence, like progress, like new levels, like increase, immediately these words and these expressions bring a mixed feeling among believers, the body of Christ. On the one hand, it creates excitement. On the other hand, people frown. It's like a pungent odor that is coming out from something that is decayed. And for others, it's like a fragrance that comes out of a perfume. How can the body of Christ, saved by the same Christ, what is responsible for this divergence in reactions every time we mention the subject of success or anything around it? Please listen carefully. If you're a man of God, I want you to listen. I have put a number of points here, and it will be a great blessing to the body of Christ. It can help you to bring a balanced perspective. I'm about to answer the reason or answer the question as to why the subject of success, and this is not something that is recent, it's been so from time immemorial. When you study the history of the church, through the transitions of the church, every once in a while you find out that the subject of success, maybe wealth, maybe prosperity, increase, influence, and all of that, it almost always creates a mixed reaction, dividing the body of Christ to at least two groups. On the one, people who embrace it with joy and gladness, whether from sincerity or from a lustful standpoint, at least they embrace it. It's good news. And then on the other hand, those who reject it in anger, and the anger varies at various levels. There is an answer to it, and I hope that God will provide the answers. I'm going to give you a few answers as to why the idea of success has until now created a mixed reaction among believers. Reason number one, very quickly. The first reason I believe why the body of Christ has reacted and still reacts in various ways to any subject of success, are you ready? Is that the subject, I'll allow you to just listen to me and then we'll write. The first reason I wrote here is that the subject of success has been taught only from a standpoint of material acquisitions, while ignoring nobler parameters like spiritual health, fulfillment, and peace. Please listen before you write. Listen before you write. I'm going to dictate it, but I need your attention. So I'm answering the question as to why, when you mention the subject of success, there are people embracing it with joy, but there are people reacting so badly to it. And there are legitimate answers. Answer number one is that the subject of success has largely been taught only from a standpoint of material acquisitions, while ignoring nobler parameters like spiritual health, like fulfillment and peace. Are we together? That means one of the reasons I believe why believers frown at the subject of success is that, with all due respect, many, not most, but many of those who teach them only teach success from a standpoint of material acquisitions, and they leave nobler parameters like your spiritual health, like the subject of fulfillment and peace. And so because of this, those who have been able to, cross-examine those teachings immediately put an X on it and they frown. They say, no, something is wrong. And they are right based on that description, because the subject of success from the kingdom goes way beyond material acquisitions. There are nobler, richer, better parameters to measure success. You get that now? Now you're right. The first reason why success creates mixed reactions, if you're yet to write, is that success, the subject of success, has been taught only, or largely taught only, from a standpoint of material acquisitions, while ignoring nobler parameters like spiritual health, nobler parameters like fulfillment, nobler parameters like peace. This is the first explanation as to this divergence in the body of Christ over the subject of success. Can I give you number two? Number two, the second reason, an answer as to these mixed reactions in the body of Christ, is that the subject has been overemphasized and exaggerated to a point of overriding the core mission of the church, which is soul winning and revealing Jesus. The subject of success has in many regards been overemphasized and in many regards exaggerated to a point of overriding the core mission of the church, which is soul winning and the revelation of Jesus. This is the second reason as to why there are mixed reactions when we talk about the subject of success in the body of Christ. It is true that, with all due respect, in many circles there's been an overflogging of the issue of success, and sometimes it's been so exaggerated to a point where it's trampled down on the core mission of the church. So you find out that in many circles, with all due respect, you never really hear the idea of soul winning and the revelation of Jesus. It's like everything is around the subject of success. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who have been uniquely called and graced by God. Are we together? To reveal that success dimension. It is their mandate. And so naturally, most of their communication will be along that line. To such people, they are not in error. They are working in their assignment as given by God. But I'm saying on a general note, when the subject of success, like every other subject, is emphasized, you say, look up please, I've taught you in this house that the teachings of the kingdom do not come in to build believers at the same proportion. Building believers is likened to a chef in the kitchen preparing a meal. I have taught you this. When you prepare, say, fried rice or jollof rice or pasta or whatever it is, there are many ingredients needed to produce that meal, and not all of them are needed at the same quantity. Am I right on that? When you fetch 3 hands full of rice and then you bring 3 hands full of salt, now you have exaggerated the role of that salt. Salt is needed, but not to that degree. This is what happens in teaching truth. Sometimes we lift up certain teachings and we exaggerate them to a point that they override the foundational teachings and the core teachings. Imagine that you tell me you want to prepare rice for me, and then I see you adding 1 mudu of pepper, Cameroon pepper. Are we together? Yeah. And then you just fetch something small that looks like rice that you are not sure of. You add it, and then add water and add salt and add whatever it is, and add a little more pepper and boil it and serve me. No sir, no sir. Just because I saw a few trickles of rice there, no, if you call it rice, then that should be the major thing. Are we together? Now that's how it is sometimes as men of God in preparing the meals that we serve the people. So we call the meal Jesus, we call the meal the gospel, but the content that is Jesus and the content that is the gospel is so scanty, you will hardly find it. And then it is full of a lot of other things that are more inferior, by far inferior. This is one of the problems. When truth is exaggerated beyond its allowance and beyond its proportion, it ends up destroying and not blessing. I always give a funny story. One time I was microwaving my beef, and you know, when you are microwaving beef, sometimes it's just supposed to be for a few minutes, 2-3 minutes, but sometimes you can forget and leave the thing there. And I mean, it just roasted that beef and became as if fire burned the whole thing. I came back and I said, no, I've waited this long. I mean, what is all this? You see that? And sometimes the difference between a nicely prepared and microwaved beef and another can just be 1 minute. 1 minute. You add the timer, 1 minute extra, and it produces hellfire.